Captain Jake Morrison floated in the darkness of space inside his broken escape pod. The small metal box that was supposed to keep him alive was dying just like everything else from the battle. Red warning lights blinked on and off around him. The air was getting thin and cold. His hands were numb and his breath came out in white clouds. The battle against the hegemony fleet had been a disaster. Earth's ships were scattered or destroyed. Most of his friends were probably dead now. Jake looked out the small window at the stars. They looked so peaceful and beautiful. It was hard to believe that a war was happening out there. His pod had been drifting for 3 days now. The emergency beacon was still working, but no human ships were left in this area to hear it. Soon the power would die completely. Then the air would run out. Jake had made peace with dying. At least he had fought for Earth. At least he had tried. The Kethvar ship Gentle Current was on its way to find a new home when their sensors picked up the strange signal. The ship looked like a giant flower made of metal and crystal. Inside, bug-like creatures with 4 arms and gentle eyes worked at their stations. They had been running from the hegemony for many years. Their own world was gone now. Only a few thousand of their people were left alive on their small fleet of ships. Commander Zixthala stood on the bridge looking at the signal on the screen. The translator worked on the message. It was a distress call, but from a species they had never seen before. The signal was weak and getting weaker. Whatever was out there would die soon if no one helped. "Commander, we should not stop," said Officer Kenthara. "We do not know what disease this creature might carry. We do not know if it is dangerous. We have our own people to protect." Zixthala's 4 arms moved in the gesture that meant deep thinking. The Kethvar had one law that was more important than any other. All thinking life was sacred. All thinking life deserved to live. It did not matter what species it was. It did not matter if it was friend or enemy. Life was precious and rare in the cold universe. "Change course," Zixthala ordered. "We will save this being." The Gentle Current moved toward Jake's pod. When they found it, the Kethvar crew was surprised. The creature inside looked so different from them. It had only 2 arms and 2 legs. Its skin was smooth and pink. Hair grew on top of its head. The Kethvar had never seen anything like it. Doctor. Velnara was the ship's doctor. She had 4 degrees in medicine and had studied many different species. But this creature was completely new. She had no idea how to help it. The life support in its pod was almost gone. They had to act fast. "Bring it to Medical Bay 3, she ordered. "Set up isolation fields. We do not know what germs it might have." The Kethvar crew worked quickly to save the dying human. They had to guess about everything. What did it eat? What kind of air did it breathe? What temperature did it need? They tried their best with what they had. Velnara worked for hours studying the strange creature's body. Its heart beat differently than theirs. Its blood was red instead of green. But it was clearly alive and thinking. Jake woke up in a room that looked like the inside of a seashell. The walls curved and had a pearl-like shine. Soft blue light came from everywhere and nowhere. He tried to sit up but felt dizzy. Something was attached to his arm, giving him fluids. The air smelled like flowers and ocean water. Then he saw them. 3 bug-like aliens stood near his bed. They had large eyes and thin bodies covered in natural armor that looked like tree bark. Their faces were kind, but worried. One of them made soft clicking sounds. A box on the wall tried to translate. "We help you. Are you pain?" The voice from the box said in broken English. Jake tried to speak, but his throat was dry. One of the aliens brought him water in a cup that looked like it was grown instead of made. The water tasted strange, but good. Jake drank it slowly. "Thank you," he whispered. The aliens looked excited. They clicked and buzzed at each other. The translator worked harder. "You are welcome. We are Kethvar. You are human," Jake said. "My name is Jake Morrison. I am from Earth." Over the next few days, Jake learned about his rescuers. The Kethvar were peaceful people who had lived on a beautiful world full of crystal cities and singing forests. They studied science and art and music. They had never fought wars or hurt other species. When the hegemony came to their world, the Kethvar could not fight back. They were not built for war. Most of their people died. The survivors fled in whatever ships they could find. Dr. Velnara spent most of her time with Jake. She was trying to understand human biology so she could keep him healthy. She was also fascinated by humans in general. Through the translator, she asked him many questions about Earth and human culture. Jake told her about cities and forests and oceans. He told her about music and books and movies. He told her about the war against the hegemony. Your people fight the same enemy that destroyed our world, Velnara said through the translator. This enemy hates all life that is different from them. Jake nodded. The hegemony wants to control everything. They think only their way of life should exist. The Kethvar crew shared everything they had with Jake. They gave him their best food even though their supplies were low. They gave him clean clothes and a comfortable place to sleep. They asked for nothing in return. Jake could not understand why they were being so kind to a stranger. Commander Zixathala visited Jake when he was feeling stronger. Through the translator, the commander explained Kethvar beliefs about the sacredness of life. All thinking beings are connected, Zixathala said. When we save one life, we save part of the universe itself. It does not matter that you are not Kethvar. You think and feel and dream. That makes you precious. Jake felt tears in his eyes. These gentle aliens had risked their own safety to save him. They had used their limited resources to keep him alive. They asked for nothing and gave everything they could. When Jake was healthy, enough to travel, the Kethvar prepared to take him to the nearest neutral space station. From there, he could find a way back to human territory. They wanted no reward for saving his life. They were just happy he would live. But Jake had other plans. He had learned something important from the Kethvar. He had learned that kindness and honor still existed in the dark galaxy. These people deserved to live. They deserved to be protected. And Jake knew exactly who should protect them. Jake Morrison stood in the communication room of the Gentle Current. The Kethvar had built their technology to look like living things. The communication array looked like a tree made of metal and crystal. Its branches reached out into space to catch signals from across the galaxy. Jake had convinced Commander Zixathala to let him send one message to Earth before they dropped him off at the neutral station. Are you certain about this, Jake Morrison? Zixathala asked through the translator. Your people are fighting a war. They may not have time to help us. Jake touched the smooth bark-like surface of the communication tree. Commander, my people need to know what you did for me. They need to know that there are still good people in this galaxy worth fighting for. Dr. Velnara worked with Jake to set up the quantum relay transmission. The message would travel through a network of relay stations that connected different parts of the galaxy. It would take weeks to reach Earth, but it would get there. The Kethvar were using some of their precious power reserves to send this message. They could not afford to waste energy, but they were doing it anyway because Jake asked them to. Jake stood in front of the recording device. It looked like a flower that opened its petals to capture his words and image. He thought carefully about what to say. This message might be the only chance to save the Kethvar people. It had to be perfect. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force, serial number 77492. I am alive because of the kindness of strangers. The Kethvar found my escape pod when I was dying. They saved my life even though they had never seen a human before. They shared their food, their medicine, and their hope with me. They asked for nothing in return. Jake paused and looked around at the alien, faces watching him. These gentle beings had given him a second chance at life. The Kethvar are refugees from their destroyed homeworld. The same hegemony forces that attack our colonies destroyed theirs. But unlike us, they are not fighters. They are scientists, and artists and healers. They are some of the best people I have ever met. Now the hegemony is hunting them down to finish what they started. Jake's voice grew stronger as he spoke. I am sending you their location, and the location of the hegemony forces closing in on them. These people saved one human life when they could have just kept flying. Now humanity has a chance to save all of them. We have a chance to prove that we are worth the sacrifice they made for me. The message contained everything Jake knew about the Kethvar fleet and their situation. He included star charts, technical data about their ships, and intelligence about hegemony patrol patterns in the area. He also included his personal testimony about the character and worth of the Kethvar people. 6 weeks later, Admiral Lisa Carter was working late in her office at Terra Station when the message arrived. The quantum relay network had carried Jake's words across hundreds of light years. Lisa almost deleted the message without listening. She got thousands of routine reports every day. But something about the sender's name caught her attention. Jake. Morrison was her sister's son. Lisa had helped raise him after his parents died in a hegemony attack on the outer colonies. She had watched him grow from an angry young man into one of Earth's finest officers. If Jake was alive and sending messages, she needed to hear what he had to say. Lisa watched the recording 3 times. Each time she felt more amazed and more troubled. Her nephew was alive, but he was asking her to do something impossible. Earth's military was stretched thin across dozens of defensive positions. Every ship was needed to protect human colonies from hegemony attacks. How could she justify sending a rescue fleet to save alien refugees? But Lisa knew Jake better than anyone. He was not the type of person to ask for help unless it was truly important. If he said these Kethvar deserved humanity's protection, then they probably did. Lisa had learned to trust Jake's judgment about people. She called Dr. Nathan Pierce to her office. Pierce was Earth's top expert on alien biology and cultures. If anyone could tell her about the Kethvar, it would be him. Pierce studied the data Jake had sent about the aliens. Their biology fascinated him. They had evolved from hive insects, but each individual could think for themselves. Their culture seemed to be based on cooperation and respect for all life. Admiral, based on what I see here, the Kethvar are exactly what young Morrison claims, Pierce said. They appear to be a naturally peaceful species. Their technology is advanced but designed for exploration and healing, not warfare. They would be incredibly valuable allies if we could save them. Lisa stared out the window of her office at the Earth Defense Fleet. Hundreds of ships floated in formation around Terra Station. Each one represented thousands of human lives. Each captain was sworn to protect Earth and her colonies. How could she ask them to risk everything for aliens they had never met? But then she thought about what this moment really meant. For years, humanity had been fighting a defensive war against the hegemony. They were always running, always hiding, always barely surviving. Maybe it was time to show the galaxy what humanity stood for. Maybe it was time to prove that humans were worth saving too. Lisa began making quiet calls to ship captains she trusted. She could not use official channels for this mission. The Earth Defense Council would never approve using military resources to rescue alien refugees. But she knew there were captains in the fleet who understood honor and duty, beyond just following orders. Commander Alex Rodriguez commanded the heavy cruiser Defiant. He had served with Lisa for 15 years and trusted her judgment completely. When she explained the situation, he did not hesitate. Admiral, my ship and crew are at your disposal. If Captain Morrison says these aliens are worth saving, that's good enough for me. Captain Maria Santos commanded a destroyer squadron patrolling the outer rim. Her ships were small but fast and deadly. She had lost friends to hegemony attacks and understood the value of having allies in the war. Count us in, Admiral. It's about time we started fighting for something instead of just fighting against something. One by one, other ships joined the secret mission. Their captains were told only that they were embarking on a mission of honor to repay a debt. Most did not ask for details. They trusted Admiral Carter, and they understood that some things were more important than regulations. Lieutenant Commander Ben Walsh was assigned as tactical officer for the rescue fleet. He studied hegemony patrol patterns around the Kethvar's last known position. The enemy had overwhelming firepower in the region, but they were spread thin. If the human fleet could achieve surprise, they might have a chance. Dr. Pierce joined the mission as scientific advisor. He wanted to meet the Kethvar and learn from them. He also wanted to help establish communication protocols that could lead to a lasting alliance between the species. As the rescue fleet prepared to depart, Admiral Carter addressed all the crews via ship-to-ship communication. She told them about Jake Morrison and his rescue by the Kethvar. She told them about the aliens who had risked everything to save one human life. She told them that this mission was about proving humanity deserved to survive and prosper in the galaxy. Some crew members were skeptical about risking their lives for unknown aliens, but most understood what their admiral was asking of them. This was not just about saving refugees. This was about showing the galaxy what humanity could be at its best. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of her flagship Independence watching the rescue fleet assemble in the shadow of Terra Station. 12 human warships floated in formation against the backdrop of Earth's blue marble. Each ship represented hundreds of crew members who had volunteered for a mission they barely understood. They knew only that their admiral had asked them to come and that honor demanded their presence. The fleet was not impressive by military standards. Lisa's force included 1 heavy cruiser, 4 destroyers, 3 frigates, 2 supply ships, and 2 medical vessels. Against the hegemony forces surrounding the Kethvar refugees, they would be outnumbered 6-1. But these were veteran crews who had survived the worst battles of the war. They knew how to fight when the odds were against them. Commander Alex Rodriguez reported from the Defiant that his heavy cruiser was ready for departure. His ship carried the most powerful weapons in the fleet and would lead the attack when they reached the Kethvar position. Rodriguez had handpicked his crew from volunteers across the Earth Defense Force. Every person on his ship had lost someone to the hegemony and wanted revenge. Captain Maria Santos commanded the destroyer squadron that would provide fast attack capability. Her 4 ships were built for speed and stealth. They could strike hard and disappear before the enemy could respond. Santos had fought in more battles than any other captain in the fleet. Her crews trusted her completely and would follow her. Into hell if she asked. Lieutenant Commander Ben Walsh worked around the clock in the fleet's tactical center. He studied every piece of intelligence they had about hegemony forces in the target system. The enemy had 3 Dreadnought-class battleships and their full escort fleets surrounding the Kethvar refugees. It was a force designed to crush any resistance and eliminate the alien survivors. Dr. Nathan Pierce had converted one of the medical ships into a mobile laboratory. He was preparing equipment to study Kethvar biology and establish proper communication protocols. Pierce hoped this mission would be the beginning of humanity's first real alliance with a peaceful alien species. The scientific possibilities excited him almost as much as the moral imperative to save innocent lives. The crew spent their final hours on Earth saying goodbye to families and friends. Many wrote letters they hoped would never need to be delivered. This mission was entirely voluntary, but it was also extremely dangerous. Everyone understood they might not come home. Chief Petty Officer Danny Brooks had served on destroyers for 12 years. He was married with 2 young children. His wife Sarah asked him why he was risking everything for aliens he had never met. Because someone's nephew is still alive because of their kindness, Brooks told her. If that was our boy out there, I would hope someone would come for him. Ensign Katie Walsh was fresh out of the academy, and this would be her first real combat mission. Her older brother Ben was the fleet's tactical officer and had arranged for her to serve on his ship. Katie was scared but determined to prove herself worthy of the uniform. "These Kethvar sound like good people," she told her brother. "Maybe it's time the galaxy saw some good people win for once." Admiral Carter called a final briefing for all ship captains and senior officers. They gathered in the main conference room of Terra Station. The holographic display showed their route to the target system and the latest intelligence about enemy positions. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to embark on a mission that goes against every rule of military strategy," Carter began. "We are taking a small force into enemy territory to rescue aliens that most humans have never heard of. We are doing this because one of our own asked us to. We are doing this because it is right." Commander Rodriguez raised his hand. "Admiral, what are our rules of engagement? Are we authorized to use full military force against hegemony ships?" "Commander, the hegemony has declared war on all free peoples of the galaxy. They have attacked our colonies and killed our citizens. When we encounter their forces, you are authorized to use whatever force is necessary to complete the mission and protect our ships." Captain Santos asked about extraction procedures. "Admiral, once we engage the enemy fleet, How do we get the HFY ships to safety? Their vessels are not designed for combat maneuvers. Lieutenant Commander Walsh activated the tactical display. Captain, our analysis suggests the HFY ships are actually quite fast despite being unarmed. If we can eliminate or distract the hegemony forces, the refugee fleet can escape to the neutral zone in approximately 4 hours. Dr. Pierce presented his preliminary analysis of HFY technology and biology. Based on Captain Morrison's data, these people are natural pacifists but highly intelligent. Their ships use advanced propulsion systems that could revolutionize human space travel. Their medical knowledge could save countless human lives. From both humanitarian and strategic perspectives, saving them is the right choice. Admiral Carter looked around the room at the faces of her officers. These were some of the finest people Earth had produced. They were risking everything based on the testimony of one young captain who had been saved by alien kindness. I want everyone to understand what we are really doing here, Carter said. We are not just rescuing refugees. We are making a statement about what humanity stands for. We are showing the galaxy that we remember our debts and we protect those who cannot protect themselves. This mission could change how other species view us. The officers returned to their ships to make final preparations. Weapons were checked and double-checked. Medical facilities were stocked with supplies for treating both human and alien casualties. Communication systems were configured to handle HFY frequencies and translation protocols. The supply ships Harmony and Providence carried extra food, medicine, and spare parts for the HFY fleet. No one knew what condition the refugee ships would be in after months of running from the hegemony. The humans were prepared to share everything they had. The medical ships Mercy and Hope were equipped with the most advanced treatment facilities Earth could provide. Dr. Pierce had trained their crews in basic alien physiology based on the limited data from Jake Morrison. They were prepared to treat wounded HFY and establish medical cooperation between the species. As the fleet prepared to depart, Admiral Carter received a priority message from Earth Defense Command. General Morrison, Jake's uncle and the highest-ranking officer in Earth's military, had learned about the unauthorized mission. Instead of ordering her to stand down, he sent a simple message. Lisa, bring our boy home. Bring them all home. The rescue fleet departed Terra Station 36 hours after Admiral Carter had made the decision to launch the mission. They jumped to hyperspace on a course that would take them deep into contested territory, where the hegemony hunted the last survivors of the HFY civilization. During the long journey through hyperspace, the crews trained for the coming battle. They practiced attack formations and rescue procedures. They studied what little they knew about HFY ships and culture. Most importantly, they prepared themselves mentally for a fight where the stakes were higher than territory or resources. Admiral Carter spent her time reviewing the mission parameters and thinking about Jake Morrison. Her nephew had always been special. Even as a child, he had shown unusual empathy for others and a strong sense of justice. The fact that he was willing to risk everything to help alien refugees did not surprise her. What surprised her was how many other humans were willing to follow his example. The fleet would reach the target system in 18 hours. Long-range sensors were already detecting the massive energy signatures of hegemony dreadnoughts. The enemy was exactly where intelligence had predicted. Soon, humanity would find out if kindness and honor were stronger than fear and hatred. The human rescue fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vega system and immediately detected the worst possible scenario. 3 hegemony dreadnoughts hung in space like metal mountains, each one 3 times larger than Admiral Carter's flagship. Around them swarmed dozens of smaller warships in perfect attack formations. At the center of this deadly trap floated the HFY refugee fleet, their beautiful crystalline ships looking fragile and helpless. Admiral Carter stood on the Bridge of Independence studying the tactical display. The hegemony had brought enough firepower to destroy a major human colony. They were not taking any chances with the peaceful HFY. Lieutenant Commander Walsh fed her constant updates on enemy positions and weapon signatures. Admiral, the lead dreadnought is the Dominator, flagship of Admiral Kreshtar. Intelligence indicates he commanded the original attack on the HFY homeworld. This appears to be personal for him. Carter nodded grimly. The hegemony did not usually waste this much military power on refugee ships, unless they had a specific reason. Kreshtar wanted to finish what he had started years ago when he destroyed the Kethvar civilization. Commander Rodriguez reported from the Defiant. Admiral, my ship is ready to engage. We've identified the optimal attack vector against the lead, Dreadnought. If we can cripple their flagship, the rest of their formation might break apart. Captain Santos had positioned her destroyer squadron for a high-speed attack run. Her ships were hidden behind a small asteroid field, waiting for the signal to strike. Destroyers are in position, Admiral. We can hit their escort vessels before they know we're here. On the Kethvar ship, Gentle Current, Jake Morrison watched the approaching battle with growing anxiety. The hegemony forces had been slowly tightening their formation around the refugee fleet for the past day. Commander Zixthala and the other Kethvar leaders had accepted that they would die here. They only hoped their deaths would be quick. Jake, Morrison, why do your people come to this place? Zixthala asked through the translator. They will die with us. This changes nothing. Jake looked at his alien friend with complete confidence. Commander, you don't understand humans yet. We don't calculate odds when someone needs help. We just help them. Dr. Velnara had been monitoring human communication frequencies and detecting the approaching fleet. She could hardly believe what the sensors were telling her. 12 human warships were approaching 3 hegemony dreadnoughts. It seemed like madness. Jake Morrison, your people are brave, but this is suicide. The hegemony has too many ships. Jake smiled at the worried Kethvar doctor. Dr. Velnara, you saved one human when you could have kept flying. Now you're going to learn what happens when humans don't forget their debts. Admiral Carter gave the order to attack. The human fleet burst from behind a gas giant like hunters emerging from cover. They had achieved complete surprise. The hegemony forces had been focused on the helpless refugees and were not prepared for a military assault. Commander Rodriguez led the charge in the Defiant. His heavy cruiser opened fire with everything it had as it raced toward the lead dreadnought. Plasma, cannons and missile batteries unleashed destruction at the massive enemy ship. The Dominator's shields flared and sparked under the unexpected assault. Captain Santos brought her destroyers in from a different angle, targeting the hegemony escort ships. Her 4 vessels moved like wolves attacking a herd, striking fast and disappearing before the enemy could respond effectively. 2 hegemony cruisers exploded in the first 30 seconds of battle. The surprise attack caught Admiral Kreshtar completely off guard. The reptilian hegemony commander had expected to spend the day methodically destroying helpless refugee ships. Instead, his flagship was under heavy fire and his formation was in chaos. All ships, engage the human fleet immediately. Kreshtar roared over the communication system. Destroy them all. Leave nothing alive. The battle became a deadly dance of massive ships maneuvering at incredible speeds. The human fleet was heavily outnumbered, but they had trained for this kind of desperate fight their entire careers. Every captain knew exactly what their ship could do, and pushed it to the absolute limit. The Independence traded fire with the 2nd Dreadnought while smaller human ships swarmed around the massive enemy vessel like angry insects. Admiral Carter's flagship took heavy damage but kept fighting. Her crew worked frantically to keep weapons and shields operational, while the ship shook under enemy fire. Ensign Katie Walsh was at her station on one of the destroyers when a hegemony plasma bolt punched through their port shield. The explosion threw her across the bridge and left her with a broken arm, but she climbed back to her console and kept fighting. Ma'am, we've lost main power to forward weapons, she reported to her captain. Switch to backup systems and keep firing. The captain ordered. Those refugees are counting on us. The medical ship Mercy moved closer to the Kethvar fleet to begin evacuating wounded aliens. Dr. Pierce worked with Kethvar doctors to establish emergency medical protocols. Humans and aliens worked side by side to save lives while the battle raged around them. On the Gentle Current, Jake Morrison helped coordinate rescue efforts while watching the human fleet fight impossible odds. Commander Zixthala stood beside him, amazed by the courage and determination of the human warriors. Your people fight like they have nothing to lose, the Kethvar commander observed. No, Commander, Jake replied. They fight like they have everything to gain. Honor, friendship, allies in this dark galaxy. That's worth dying for. The battle reached its climax when Commander Rodriguez managed to ram the Defiant into the shield generator of the lead dreadnought. His ship was destroyed in the collision, but the massive enemy vessel was left vulnerable. Captain Santos immediately ordered all remaining ships to concentrate fire on the Dominator. The Hegemony flagship took devastating damage and began to break apart. Admiral Kreshitar abandoned his ship in an escape pod, screaming orders that no one could follow. With their commander gone and their flagship destroyed, the remaining Hegemony forces began to retreat. The human fleet had lost 4 ships and taken severe damage across the rest, but they had achieved their objective. The Kethvar refugee fleet was free to escape to neutral space. Medical teams from both species worked together to treat the wounded and prepare for evacuation. Dr. Velnara found Jake Morrison in the medical bay, helping treat injured humans. She could not understand why these warriors had risked everything for strangers. Jake Morrison, why did your people do this thing? You could have all died for us. Jake looked at the Kethvar doctor with exhaustion but satisfaction. Because you saved one of us when you didn't have to. Because kindness should be rewarded, not punished. Because the galaxy needs more people like you. As the combined human and Kethvar fleet prepared to leave the battle zone, Admiral Carter received a message from the refugee fleet. Commander Zixathala's words came through the translator with deep emotion. Admiral Carter, the Kethvar people, will remember this day forever. You have given us more than our lives. You have given us hope that goodness still exists in the universe. We pledge ourselves to your people and your cause. Together, we will make the galaxy a better place. Admiral Carter smiled as she watched human and alien ships flying together toward safety. The rescue mission had cost them dearly, but they had gained something precious in return. They had gained friends who understood the value of sacrifice and honor. The battle for the Kethvar refugees was over. The war for the soul of the galaxy was just beginning. News of the rescue spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The story of one human saved by alien kindness and humanity's response to that kindness traveled through every communication network and trade route. Species that had remained neutral in the war between humanity and the hegemony suddenly began paying attention to what these young humans were really like. Admiral Lisa Carter found herself receiving messages from alien governments she had never heard of. The Zelani Republic sent diplomatic inquiries about establishing formal relations with Earth. The Vorthak clans offered to cease their raids on human shipping lanes in exchange for trade agreements. Even the mysterious ethereals, who rarely spoke to any other species, began sharing intelligence about hegemony military movements. The rescue had accomplished something no human military victory could have achieved. It had shown the galaxy that humanity valued honor and friendship over pure survival. Other species began to wonder if these humans might be different from the cruel hegemony forces they were fighting. On the medical ship Hope, Dr. Nathan Pierce worked alongside Dr. Velnara to establish the first joint human Kethvar research project. The two scientists had discovered they could learn incredible things by combining human innovation with Kethvar wisdom. Their medical breakthroughs would save thousands of lives in both species. Dr. Pierce, your people's ability to adapt and improvise amazes me, Velnara said through the improved translator system they had built together. Combined with our knowledge of biological systems, we could eliminate many diseases that plague both our species. Pierce smiled as he watched human and Kethvar medical staff working side by side. Dr. Velnara, your people's patience and precision is exactly what human medicine needs. We tend to rush into things without thinking them through completely. Jake Morrison had become something he never expected to be, humanity's first ambassador to an alien species. The Earth government had officially appointed him as the liaison between humans and Kethvar. His job was to help both species understand each other and work together effectively. Commander Zixthala had been elected as the primary representative of the Kethvar people. The gentle alien leader spent most of his time learning about human culture and trying to find ways for his people to contribute to the alliance. Ambassador Morrison, my people wish to share our knowledge freely with yours, Zixthala said during one of their daily meetings. We have no weapons to offer, but we have understanding of science and medicine that might help your people survive this war." Jake was constantly amazed by Kethvar generosity. They had lost everything to the hegemony, been rescued by strangers, and their first instinct was to give back to their rescuers. "Commander, your people have already given us the most important thing of all. You've given us hope that there are still good people in this galaxy worth fighting for." The technological exchange between humans and Kethvar produced remarkable results. Human engineers learned to build more efficient engines based on Kethvar quantum mechanics principles. Kethvar. Scientists adapted human manufacturing techniques to produce better medical equipment and scientific instruments. Both species benefited enormously from the partnership. Chief Engineer Danny Brooks, who had survived the battle to rescue the Kethvar, found himself working with alien technicians to upgrade human ship designs. The Kethvar understanding of energy systems allowed human vessels to travel faster and operate more efficiently. "These Kethvar engineers are incredible," Brooks reported to Admiral Carter. "They see connections between systems that we never noticed. Our new ships will be 50% more efficient and twice as durable." The cultural exchange was equally remarkable. Human artists learned about Kethvar music, which used harmonics that human ears could barely detect but found deeply moving. Kethvar philosophers studied human literature and were fascinated by concepts of individual heroism and sacrifice. Ensign Katie Walsh, who had been wounded in the rescue battle, spent her recovery time learning the Kethvar language and customs. She had been assigned to work with young Kethvar who wanted to learn about human culture. "The Kethvar children are so curious about everything," she told her brother Ben. "They want to understand why humans are willing to fight and die for strangers. I try to explain it, but I'm not sure I understand it myself." Ben Walsh had been promoted to commander after his performance in the rescue mission. He was now working on joint human-Kethvar tactical planning. "Katie, I think we fight for strangers because that's what makes us human. The ability to care about people we've never met is what separates us from the hegemony." The alliance between humans and Kethvar had strategic consequences that reached far beyond either species. Other alien civilizations began to see humanity as potential allies rather than just another aggressive warrior race. The galaxy's political situation began to shift in ways that favored peaceful species over military empires. The Zalani Republic was the first major power to formally ally with the human Kethvar coalition. Their advanced shield technology and defensive strategies perfectly complemented human offensive capabilities and Kethvar scientific knowledge. Within months, 3 species that had never worked together before were sharing technology and coordinating military operations. Admiral Carter found herself commanding not just human ships but vessels from multiple species. The combined fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human aggression and adaptability, Kethvar wisdom and scientific precision, and Zalani defensive expertise created a military force that the hegemony could not easily counter. "Admiral, the latest intelligence suggests that hegemony forces are withdrawing from 3 contested systems," Commander Walsh reported during a strategic briefing. "They appear to be consolidating their positions closer to their core territories." Carter studied the tactical displays showing the changing balance of power across the galaxy. The hegemony is realizing that they're not fighting just humans anymore. They're fighting an alliance of species that share common values about freedom and cooperation. Dr. Pierce had established research stations where scientists from multiple species worked together on projects that benefited everyone. The scientific advances coming from these collaborative efforts were revolutionary. Medical treatments that had seemed impossible were becoming routine. Engineering projects that would have taken decades were completed in months. "Admiral, the joint research teams have developed new treatments for the radiation sickness that affects crews on long-duration missions," Pierce reported. "Both human and alien crews will be healthier and more effective in extended operations." Jake Morrison spent his time traveling between Earth, the Kethvar refugee settlements, and the new allied colonies where multiple species lived and worked together. He had become a symbol of the cooperation that was transforming the galaxy. During a visit to New Harmony, the first joint human Kethvar colony, Jake watched children from both species playing together in the settlement's central park. Human kids were learning HFY games while alien youngsters tried to master human sports. The sight filled him with hope for the future. Commander Zixathala joined Jake on his walk through the colony. Ambassador Morrison, do you think our children will grow up in a galaxy free from the hegemony's hatred? Jake watched a human girl teaching a young HFY how to throw a baseball, while other children cheered for both of them. Commander, I think our children will grow up in a galaxy where species help each other instead of fighting. The hegemony represents the old way of thinking. This colony represents the future. The war against the hegemony was far from over, but the nature of the conflict had changed completely. What had started as humanity fighting alone for survival had become a coalition of peaceful species standing together against tyranny. The rescue of the HFY refugees had planted a seed that grew into something much larger than anyone could have imagined. As Jake stood in the newly commissioned starship HFY's Gift, watching crews from 4 different species working together to prepare for their next mission, he reflected on the simple act of kindness that had started everything. The HFY had saved one human because it was the right thing to do. Humanity had returned to save them all for the same reason. Now the galaxy was learning that kindness and honor were not weaknesses to be exploited, but strengths that could overcome any enemy. The rescue mission had ended months ago, but its consequences would shape the future of every species in the galaxy. When someone saves your life, you don't forget. And when humanity doesn't forget, the universe takes notice.